What up, Pink Ladies, T-Birds, just happen to be watchers of my shit. My name is Jimmi Pynk, and I'm actually pretty fucking impressed. So, today is day 7 of the Hunt for Pink October. And if you don't know what that is where I do 31 videos wearing pink every day to raise money for breast cancer. So if you would like to assist me in that, you can go ahead and join my Patreon. All new subscribers and old as well. But all donations from October, which will be paid out on November 1st, will be going to Susan G. Komen for the Cure of Northeast Ohio. You do have to do it through my Patreon. However, you do not have to stay. Once the payment clears on November, you can cancel. I'm not mad. However, YouTube is fucking with a bitch's revenue, and it's making it very hard for me to continue to do the work. So if you got $1, help us out. Now, on to what we're here for. I just watched the first episode of the new rebooted Once Upon a Time. It's season 7 technically, but we're starting all over again. And I have to say, I was expecting to review this and read it for filth. That's what I was here to do. That's what I was expecting to do. Fix up, look sharp, get pretty, put on some princess shit, and then read these bitches for filth. And I can't do that. I actually like the way that they did it. Now, because I did not watch this when it was out, which was technically last night, I didn't want to read any tweets, anything. I didn't want any spoilers because I wanted my opinion to come across as honest. And it is. But here's the thing. Okay? When it started off last season, because we came right back to where we started from with the little girl, I'm Lucy, I'm your daughter, and a grown-up Henry Mills. Now, the way it started, we seen original Henry and Regina. Now, what I will say is this. I understand that you cannot get Emma for every episode. Matter of fact, I think you only got her for one. But I felt like it's odd to see Regina sending Henry off alone. Especially when it's been established at this point that Emma and Regina are clearly co-mothers. You know what I mean? Like, they're clearly like, yeah, if he was going to be leaving to go to another realm or whatever, Emma would have been there. So I did have a little bit of a problem with that. And then I also had a little bit of a problem. I know aesthetically why they did it. But we see Regina in like this white top and this lavender skirt. And I'm like, bitch, where? Never. I know she's not supposed to be the evil queen anymore. But when y'all ever seen Regina with some light colors on? Never. So I wasn't feeling that. Now I understand because she then turns into a different character whose name is Ronnie. Is going to have a darker look to her because she's like a bar owner. So they give her kind of like a... She remind me of when you go into the bar and it'd be like them older women in the bar that's probably like her age or how old she's supposed to be on the show. And there was like, they used to be rocker chicks or biker babes. That's like the feel that I was getting from that. But I have questions and I hope that they're going to be answered in the way that I want them to be, because if they're not, then I'm probably going to end up hating this show. But I really enjoyed the way they did it. So it turns out that the whole Storybrooke season, the stuff that we've been watching for the past 6 years, Henry wrote the book because he's the author. And in this new land or whatever, with under the new curse, he's an author. And he wrote that book. I thought that shit was kind of genius. So when the little girl came in, even though that ain't the same book she had last year, she had a book that looked like a Once Upon a Time book that Henry used to have. But now it's like a paperback book. And he's an Uber driver struggling to write his second novel. So he goes, little girl steals his laptop, he goes. And yes, definitely parallels between Emma and Henry when we first started this series and Lucy and Henry. But what I'm going to tell you that I absolutely loved, that I didn't think I was going to, because I'm like, the way they explained it and said, when I went to the book, these stories are written by different people. Like, just like it's a French Snow White, it's an Italian Snow White. There's multiple of all of y'all, but there's only one me. Man, thank you. Because I was wondering how the hell Dania Ramirez was going to be Cinderella, and we already had a Cinderella. So I was wondering how they were going to do that. But I like her as an actress. I always have. I liked her on Entourage. I loved her on Devious Maids. So I'm happy to see her on TV again. But, it starts off where he meets Cinderella and she steals his motorcycle. So now we're also getting like a Snow White Charming kind of comparison as well. And she steals his bike, but she ain't going to go fall in love with the prince. Oh no, none of that. She going to go kill the prince. And I gotta say too, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I gotta say too, Regina was a bad motherfucker, but I kind of like evil stepmom. She giving her a run for her money. I said, oh, that's how I used to feel about Regina, where y'all was just like, I can't stand this bitch, but I love her at the same time. I was like, good job on casting, because that shit is cool. We got Alice from Wonderland that just threw up in here, and I'm trying to think, and y'all comment below and let me know if y'all watched Once Upon a Time. When we was doing like Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, or even when they visited Wonderland, where Cora was the Queen of Hearts, Regina's mother, we ain't never meet Alice, did we? So there was never an Alice. I was like, excuse me. That's not like very princess-like of me now, is it? But shit, neither is Cinderella riding a motorcycle, going to go murder somebody, and then fighting mothers with the sword. She did this shit when she was in the ball gown. She just like slid forward like they do in basketball games. That shit was everything. And then she leaves the shoe behind because she was like, I don't believe in signs. And they're doing like the parallel thing from the neighborhood, Hyperion Heights, to, I guess, not the Enchanted Forest, because they're just different realms. So I don't know what their fairy tale land is over here. But I found it interesting, like, that Alice was in that land, and he was like, Alice, like, in Wonderland, and she was like, and other places, you take one funny trip, and that's all anybody knows you for. That shit was funny. I was like, okay, I'm here for this. And then, also, here's what I'm interested in knowing. Different curse, different people, some of the people are there, some of the people are not, what have you. And I understand it's Ronnie, and then it's Hook is a police officer, and Rumple is a detective. So now Rumple and Hook is going to be partners. I'm like, they ain't even like each other in their old lives. So that's going to be good. But here's my question. When Alice gets Henry and says, I don't know who you are, but Rumple does. And he's like, Rumple still skinny. He's like, you should know by now, your grandfather know everything. So, with that being said, we know that Rumple is still Rumple. What I want to know is Hook still Hook and is Regina still Regina? Now, there was some hokey moments. Like, I didn't like when he went into the bar and they're talking and she's like, well, I don't know, you don't look like you're having such a great day. And he's like, what if I walked in this bar and told you I was your son? I didn't like that. I was like, that was too hokey. That was more of the shit that I was expecting for the episode to be. I thought it was going to be real hokey. A whole lot of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Remember this from the last 6 seasons? And they really didn't do that, with the exception of that. And like I said, the way they are doing it, there is a comparison. Obviously, there's a comparison with the Henry and Emma to Henry and Lucy, and then the way that him and Cinderella meet. But it was just enough familiarity, and they didn't overdo it like I thought they were going to. Another point that I wanted to make, that I don't know if anybody else thought about this, but I did. Because I'm like, well, wait a minute, how is Cinderella just not going to end up with the prince? Henry is a prince. I forget it all the time. I know y'all do too. Henry is a prince because his grandparents is Snow White and Prince Charming. His mother is technically a princess. Well, hell, I guess his stepdad is too. His father isn't. But your mother is a princess. You a prince. So Cinderella still did marry her own personal Prince Charming, which I thought was dope. I also want to say this, because it's come up in a few episodes. Well, we've been doing it for a week, and it's come up either this week or last week. I'm kind of losing track here because I did like 3 videos last week, and then now we're on to this. Trying to think how I want to put this. I don't care for when they are trying to shove what we need to have more diversity in our cast. I don't like when they push the issue and they make it like, oh, well, we got a Hispanic now, we got a black now, we got a gay now, we got an Asian now. I don't like when they do that. So I would be curious to know why Cinderella is Dominican. I don't really have a problem with it because it makes sense that everybody wouldn't be white. But I am curious to know how she is Dominican though. Like, I'm just curious to know. I would just like to know why they did that. I'm wondering if they cast the little girl first and like she just honest to God gave the best reading to play that character of Lucy. Because if you remember at first, Henry anchored that show in the first like 2 or 3 seasons. Henry, you want to say that Emma was the main character, but really it was Henry. Because Henry had to be the one to go find her, and Henry is, damn bugs, is the truest believer. So really, Henry was the main character for a couple seasons. So I'm wondering if this little girl just gave the best reading, and then once they cast her and realized like, oh shit, we can't play this little girl off like she white because the little girl is clearly Latina, that they said, well, we're going to have to try to cast a Latina Cinderella, or we're going to have to recast this little girl because we can't sell it that her mom is a white lady and her dad is a white man and she looks Latina. It's not going to work. Also, and the reason why I gave the show a chance, because I was going, ixnay, I'm done. I don't need it no more. But I'm glad that I watched it. The reason why I gave it a chance is because Cinderella, or Jacinda, roommate, I know this because I did read this. We're probably not going to find that out. I believe I read that it was going to be episode 5 is when we were going to find out. I can't help it, man. Entertainment Weekly, sometimes they have articles in there to tell you shit, and I'm like, I really didn't want to know that. But I'm glad I read this one because that's going to be Princess Tiana. So after, I'll say, once they started running out of characters and they really started bringing in Disney, like Ariel came in, they did Beauty and the Beast, but her name was Belle, and I started realizing, like, okay, ABC is a Disney company, and instead of it just being, because at first, it just seemed like they was just fairy tales, and it wasn't necessarily the Disney ones. But when they started pushing their little Disney agenda and doing Frozen and brought in Merida from Brave, I said, motherfuckers, if y'all don't bring in Princess Tiana, we gonna have a motherfucking problem. For real. So she's going to be Princess Tiana. And I was like, well, I'm going to give it a chance because y'all finally giving me Princess Tiana. I am a little bit disappointed that she didn't come. Y'all brought in Cruella de Vil, man. Cruella de Vil, that 101 Dalmatians ain't even a motherfucking fairy tale. That was a bad season, though. That whole season was bad. Even though Cruella de Vil was my bitch, I did like her on there. I liked her better when she was in the underworld. But that's what I'm saying. They was bringing in Hercules and all this shit. I'm like, when y'all bringing in Treasure Planet? Didn't happen. Also, one thing that I realized that was a loose end that was never tied up. Do y'all remember that the land of untold stories like all came over to like Storybrooke? Where the fuck them people go? They went off with the curse too? Like, where them people go? Was this Cinderella in there? Was Tiana? Like, that's a loose end that wasn't tied up. So hopefully either that was just a plot hole. Speaking of plot holes, that was the cutest thing. Well, how's my story go? When Henry and she was telling him, he says, well, usually you leave your shoe. And he finds you because, you know, by you being able to fit the shoe. And she says, well, that's just dumb. Do you know how many other women's feet is the same size as mine? And Henry's just like, yeah, it's a plot hole. I was just like, see, now you're getting it. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want it to turn into a completely different show. This still felt very much like Once Upon a Time to me. And that was something else I was worried about too. I was thinking about, I didn't want it to fall too flat and just be a beat for beat remake of the first 6 seasons. But I also didn't want it to be a completely different show. This felt like Once Upon a Time. It felt like Once Upon a Time. Don't get too used to all them in jokes though. Don't get too much used to them meta jokes. I said that on a review that I did randomly about Once Upon a Time before, I had made mention of that because they was starting to say stuff about bringing in Star Wars and that Walt Disney was also one of the authors. And I'm like, okay, y'all getting a little bit too meta. We get it. You're owned by Disney. We get it. When he's driving his Uber, I seen it was people that, which Hyperion Heights is supposed to be, it ain't in Maine. It's supposed to be in Washington. Well, you a Uber driver. Where these people come from, they had on hats like they was in Disneyland. Don't get too meta, you gonna fuck it up. But all in all, I gotta say, they got me. Now, am I gonna be hardcore about Once Upon a Time like I was the first 6 seasons? That's yet to be determined, and it's definitely gonna matter what they do with Tiana and if Tiana is gonna be a constant character or not. But so far, I'm here for it. I'm alright with it. It was pretty damn good. It started off slow though. It did start off slow, but once it got to the end, like, you know, they switched the Cinderella story up on us and figured out how Henry met Cinderella and all that and how he got to these other... Well done, Once Upon a Time. Well done. So, I'm going to go ahead and conclude it there. Again, don't forget what the reason for the season is. It is because it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so I do want to remind you that if you would like to donate to me raising money for Susan G. Komen for the cure of Northeast Ohio, please take a look at the end of the video. You can click on my Patreon, or you can just go to Patreon and look up Jimmi Pynk. I'm the same on all social media. And if you are not a Pink Lady or a T-Bird, please become one by subscribing to my channel. That'll be the pink circle, Sailor Jimmy at the end. Hit the dumbass notification bell so you know when you're going to get these videos or any other videos. And watch another video. If you would like to watch another video first, pick your poison. It's a big old sample platter over here. Take a look at some of the other videos. See if you like the channel. And please subscribe. I do want to thank each and every one of you for watching. I definitely, as always, want to thank my patrons. I do have a new patron. I'm sorry I don't have the name and I can't update the credits until after I post this video, but it will be updated, and she gave $20, so I definitely want to thank her, and I'm so sorry that I do not have your name readily available, but your name will be in the credits on the next video. So thank you all so much for watching, for helping me raise this money, and for putting up with my ass for 31 days straight. Deuces. I should have did the princess wave.
Kamehameha attack is blazing, I'm so amazing. Japanimation, the anime on your cartoon station. So fulfilling, no adults swimming for about an hour. Revealing power, unorthodox amongst these cowards. Full transformation for Optimus Prime transformation. A good vibration from Rumble packed in with inspiration. In my beginning, God created a lyricist. Saga continues.